guys, this is Sukanya Rana and welcome to the Streak Initiative where we cover some of the questions from your current affair which are important for Prelims 2021. This week we're covering economics and I hope from the last few weeks these questions have been helping you to have some quick revisions on some of the topics. I'm covering current affairs, Santosh sir is covering your static portion from economics. So I think through these questions a lot of your portions can be revised on a quick video session. Now, before I move on to the first question of the day, do remember to go and register in the link that is provided, which is the course page for Streak Initiative. If you register into this link, you will get free question compiled videos, PDF at one place. Also, you'll be provided with the RSTV and Yojana compilation, static portion compilation, and also a free mentor call. So you just have to go and register. It's completely all for free. Now, let's look at the first question of the day. Now, the first question of the day is related to Infrastructure Investment Trust. So the first statement this question puts is that it pools money from investor to invest in various infrastructure projects such as roads, railways and ports. Second is that it cannot invest money in already completed infrastructure projects. And third is it is regulated by SEBI. So if you have a brief idea about what Infrastructure Investment Trust means, then I think you can easily attempt the first statement one. So these funds are actually somewhat similar to what mutual fund does. So if you know, in mutual fund what happens is money from investors is pooled in, and then this particular money is invested into various different areas, like some is invested into stock market, equities, bonds, and a larger portion usually is invested into government securities because that is a safe mode of investment. Right. Similarly, the same pattern is followed in infrastructure investment funds, and the only difference here is that the investment here is not made into, say, equities and bonds, but all these investment is directed at one particular sector, that is the infrastructure projects. So whatever investment they are making is into some infrastructure project, infrastructure company. So by that logic, your statement one is right because these investment funds do invest into infrastructure projects of roads, railways and ports. Now, second statement. So like I mentioned, in mutual funds, your money is actually diversified and invested into various portions, say stock market, your bonds and your government securities. Similarly, what happens is the same principle is followed here. So the statement says that it cannot invest in already completed infrastructure project, but it is not true. In fact, a major portion of this investment goes into already completed project because again, see, these are safe options. It's when an investor is putting money, obviously the investor wants some returns. So if you're investing into a completed infrastructure project, then the possibility of getting a return is higher, right? So a lot of share of these funds are actually invested into this, and the other portion they invest into is all those projects, infrastructure projects which are in incompleted state and are still under construction. So yeah, so mix of both is there. So as per that logic, your statement 2 is wrong. And finally, your third statement that it is regulated by SEBI. So yes, it is completely regulated by SEBI. Again, so by that logic, you have option 1 and 3 which are right and 2 is wrong. So finally, your C is right in this scenario. So answer of this question is C. So just like infrastructure investment trust, there's also REITs, right? So look into that also. That is something that you're going to look into. Make sure you know it is regulated by what is it, and what is the share, where do they invest, what is the basic working behind those particular bodies. So that is one thing you can go and look into. Next question. Again, yesterday, if you remember, I told you that go and revise your budget. It is very important. So we have another question from budget, and in this year's we had this particular kind of policy that was laid down. So we had this National Rail Plan 2030, which is very important. Now, the basic question here is that it's asking few of the objectives, few of the ideas that have been given from this particular plan. So again, very important that you go through what is the basic idea, what is the basic objectives of this particular plan, and if there's a number mentioned, be careful what this is in respect to. That is what the question is. The first statement is that it seeks to increase the modal share of railways in freight traffic to 45% by 2030, and second is that overall operating ratio of Indian Railways to reduce to 50% by the end of 2030. Now, it's a very factual question. If you've not seen the objectives of this particular plan and if you do not remember, please don't make guesses in such kind of questions, because there might be a chance that because see, if you look at the ratios also, they don't look ridiculously huge or ridiculously low, right? So it becomes a bit difficult, like in that scenario it becomes very difficult to guess on such questions. So again, I would advise you to make sure that you have gone through this particular plan. So the statement 1 here is right. The government is planning to increase the share of model railways in freight traffic. Presently it's at 27% and they're planning it to bring it to say 45% by 2030. The second statement is actually wrong, because there's no direct target with respect to your operation ratio. Rather, there's the statement of that this particular plan is going to formulate certain strategies which is based upon both operational capacities and commercial policy initiatives, so that they can increase the modal share of railways in freight by 45%, right? That is the statement here given. So the operational capabilities concept is coming there, but again the exact target for operational ratio is not there in this particular vision. You can go through other areas also. What is the average speed they are planning to increase, the growth, all those ideas are again important for this particular question. So the answer for this question is A. B is wrong. So A is the right answer here. Next is another concept which is a lot of time in news. So minor forest product. So MFP, usually we are accustomed to hear a lot of MSP, but there's a thing called minor forest product also. And when you go through these particular types of concept, you should know what is it, what is the origin of this particular concept, is it under certain kind of legislation, what all things actually come under it. So all these ideas are very important, right? So whenever you look at the minor forest produce, the first statement here, it is saying that it is not defined under any legislation. Second is it includes all the non-timber produce of plant origin. And third is that the PISA Act of 1996 confers the ownership of MFP on forest dwellers. Now again, a good question, like if you do not have any knowledge about this particular concept, then that can be a bit difficult. But again, you can make guesses. See, it's saying a minor forest produce. So timber as a produce is actually a very important produce. It's like a major, whenever you think about forest, so majorly what you think is timber as a produce. So it cannot be really called as a minor forest produce. Minor forest produce is something that comes out of forest which is non-timber based origin. Like we have gum, we have wax, we have nuts, fruits, dyes, raisins. So from that term also you can understand, see, minor forest produce actually means these things. So I think the second statement is something that you can very much guess, I think, based upon your common sense. So if you're able to actually guess what this particular statement is, that means you can rule out, I think, C here. So pretty much a lot of other things are also left to look into. So one option has been removed. Now again, see, whenever you're talking about any kind of tribal related initiatives, a lot of time what happens is they are actually covered, say even the 5th and 6th schedule also talks about, especially the 6th schedules also talks about giving a lot of forest related rights and land rights to the tribals. So this kind of idea has been there in the conversation a lot, right? And tribals have been recognized, tribal rights over the forest have been recognized all throughout in a lot of different acts. So by that understanding, I think even the statement 3 is right here, that yes, PISA does give them this kind of ownership over the forest, because that is the basic source of their livelihood and income, right? And that has to be recognized here. So, and that is what this act is actually all based upon, strengthening the idea of the tribals in that area. So even the statement 3 is correct here, right? So if you know that statement 3 is correct here, then you have options again. You can rule out option A. So what we've left is with the B and D, right? So statement 1 is actually wrong, because this particular concept is again defined under an act. Like we've been talking about how important it is for this particular idea, because it's related directly to the livelihood of the forest dwellers. So this particular MFP is actually defined under the Forest Rights Act. So your scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of forest rights, 2006. Now this act is very important. It's not just economics related, but these acts, PISA Act, your Forest Rights Acts, these are very important. We've had couple of questions in our previous year question papers. So very important, go through them. Like in Forest Rights Act, we have certain kind of rights, dwelling rights, land rights that have been given to our tribal people. You should know about them. So revise this idea. For this particular question, we have B as an answer, because the first statement is wrong. It is very much part under a legislation, and that particular legislation is your Forest Rights Act. The next question is regarding MSME. Again, MSME, a very important topic. So we had the definition of MSME which was changed here. So this particular question is actually targeted upon that idea, like do you understand the concept behind it? So the first statement here is that the new definition of MSME takes into account the investment made by the industries based upon the original price of the investment made by the industry. So this statement here, based upon the original price, is something that can be tricky to a lot of different people, right? So this is the first statement. Second is that the export of MSME are not accounted in the turnover of MSME for the classification of MSME. And lastly, this particular definition has come under this Act 2006. So I think statement statement 3 is very much easy. I think you can directly say that this statement is right. The first two statement is something that can be tricky for some people, because these are directly actually derived from the amendment which was brought about, and these changes were actually brought about in case of COVID times to empower your MSME. So government has been taking a lot of different steps, from Atmanirbhar package to changing the definitions to technological interventions. A lot of things has been done with respect to MSME, so make sure you go through them. All of that is important. So when we're talking about this definition, obviously the first thing is that the amount has been changed, that is obviously there, but the basis of that amount, like when we're talking about investment that is made by industry, there's this idea of original price, right? So original price was actually present in the previous definition, right, which we've changed in this particular amendment act. So in the previous definition, we had the original price based upon which investment was calculated, right? Now this has been changed, and the new definition actually takes into account calculation of investment based upon your income tax returns. This is very important, because see, now what happens is this change of definition will allow the incorporation of annual depreciation that is coming with it. Because if it's just on original price, the depreciation over the years is not calculated, and say over the years the machinery and the investment might get depreciated, but still it might not come under the definition of MSME, right? Because the amount may increase, but over the years the depreciation is not counted. So in that sense, this particular change is important. This will actually broaden the amount of MSMEs that are coming under this particular definition. So this is important. This is the very benefit out of this particular change. The next thing is that exports are not accounted in the turnover. So this is also very important. This statement is also very much true. So the answer for this particular question is B. We have 2 and 3 is right. The first statement is not right because original price has been now changed to your income tax related returns. So the second statement is pretty much factual, I think. If you have gone through those particular changes, I think you'll be able to identify this particular statement. So this was another interesting concept, the original price concept. Even I was not aware of it, so I had to Google and understand it. So that is also nice. Finally, we have the last question of the day, which is again based upon a bill. So bills are important. Make sure you go through them. They might come in your prelims and even sometimes in your mains paper, especially in your paper 2 and sometimes in paper 3. Such bills can make an entry, or you can actually relate your answers to these bills and talk about them in a current affairs sense. So this bill that we're talking about here is Major Port Authorities Bill 2020. So the very first statement here is that it will apply to 11 major ports and other strategically important minor ports. The second statement is that it will replace the existing port, trust and tariff authority. And the third is that CSR will be applicable for the newly created board. Now, I think these, if you've gone through the basic features of this particular bill, I think you'll be easily able to attempt this question. This is a very easy question provided you've gone through this particular bill, because I think each and every statement is in fact there in the bill. And I think this bill has introduced a lot of good initiatives, not only these 3 terms but other, like in case of adjudication and taking care of grievances and everything, that has been taken care of this particular bill. So the statement 1 here is actually wrong, and it is just gonna focus upon the major ports, not the minor ports. So that is important. Like you can, that is kind of a common sense. If you look at the bill also, that can be derived. So yeah, statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2 is right. We have a new regulatory body now, which is going to take care of this particular port infrastructure. So new regulatory body has been introduced. And third, yes, CSR as a responsibility has been brought upon. So that was also a good initiative. So the answer for this particular question is A. Again, make sure what is the question here. Question is incorrect. So do not mark D as an answer for this question. It's A. These keywords, don't make those silly mistakes. I'm saying it again and again because it might cost you a lot in your paper. So yeah, guys, this was your questions for today, and go register in the link that has been provided below. You can access a lot of free stuff related to your preparation for UPSC, question and mock test. There's this discussion on Telegram group where you can ask any doubts that you have respect to mentors. You can also get one-on-one free call for mentorship. So a lot of different things that are covered under this particular registration. Go check out the link in the description box, and all the best. Keep studying and see you tomorrow.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Civilsdaily.